The Stranger She Kissed. It was late October in the small town of Willow Creek, Alabama, the kind of place where everyone knew each other's names and secrets didn't stay buried for long. The leaves had turned a deep amber, the air thick with the scent of burning wood, and somewhere beyond the rolling hills, a lonely woman's story was quietly beginning. Her name was Lena Brooks, a 32-year-old woman with soft eyes and a weariness far beyond her years. Life hadn't been kind to her. Her mother died young, and her father, a stern preacher, raised her on strict discipline and Bible verses. When he passed away, the only thing he left behind was debt and an old farmhouse that creaked like it carried 100 ghosts. Lena thought life couldn't get worse until it did. One rainy afternoon, the sheriff knocked on her door with a letter from the court. The small loan her father had taken years ago was overdue, and the bank was taking the house. In a matter of weeks, Lena found herself penniless, desperate, and without a place to stay. That's when she met Earl Simmons, a middle-aged mechanic who owned a repair shop on the edge of town. He wasn't exactly charming. His voice was gruff, his face rough like unpolished wood, but he offered her something no one else had, a home. There was just one catch. Earl couldn't open his eyes. He wasn't blind, at least not in the traditional sense. Years ago, an accident at the shop left his eyelids fused shut from burns. Doctors said there was still some light perception, but Earl lived in a world of darkness. And now, he wanted a wife. No one in Willow Creek understood why Lena agreed. Some said she was forced. Others whispered she did it for survival. But on a gray morning beneath the courthouse clock, Lena Brooks became Mrs. Simmons, a woman married to a man who could never see her. The Simmons house was quiet, sitting at the end of a dirt road surrounded by pine trees. Inside, it smelled faintly of oil, metal, and loneliness. Earl didn't talk much. He moved with slow, deliberate steps, his hands searching for familiar textures, the edge of a counter, the cold metal of his tools, the rough grain of wood. At first, Lena tried to be a good wife. She cooked, cleaned, and helped with small repairs. Earl never raised his voice, but he never smiled either. Every night, he would sit on the porch, head tilted toward the dark horizon, listening. "Do you ever wish you could see again?" she asked one night. Earl's lips curved into something between a smirk and a frown. "Seeing didn't bring me much good the first time," he said. Weeks passed. Winter came early that year. The nights grew longer, the cold biting harder. Lena spent her evenings reading old romance novels by the fire, dreaming of a life that could have been, a life with love, laughter, and light. Then one evening, something strange happened. Lena had gone to town to pick up supplies. It was already dark when she returned, the headlights of her borrowed truck cutting through the fog. As she stepped out, she saw someone standing near the fence, tall, in a dark coat, face shadowed by the brim of a hat. "Ma'am," the man said softly. "Truck needs a hand?" Startled, but not afraid, Lena nodded. The man introduced himself as Caleb Moore, a traveler passing through, his car broken down a few miles away. There was something about his voice, gentle, confident, familiar. He helped her carry the groceries inside, his hands brushing hers for a moment. It was brief but electric, enough to make her heart skip. Earl was asleep in his chair, head tilted back, his face peaceful in the dim light. When Caleb left, Lena stood at the window, watching him fade into the mist. For the first time in years, she felt alive. The next few days were unbearable. She couldn't stop thinking about him, that stranger with kind eyes and a quiet smile. Then one night she saw him again. He came by to return a scarf she dropped, or at least that's what he said. They stood outside under the flickering porch light, breath visible in the cold. "You shouldn't be here," she whispered. "I know," Caleb replied, stepping closer. "But I couldn't stop thinking about you." Before she could speak again, his lips touched hers, soft, urgent, and filled with everything her marriage wasn't. For a brief, reckless moment, Lena kissed him back. When she finally pulled away, tears filled her eyes. "I'm sorry," she said. "I can't." He nodded silently and walked away into the darkness, leaving her trembling and ashamed. The next morning, the house was strangely silent. Earl wasn't in his chair, not in the kitchen, not in the yard. "Earl," she called out. No answer. Hours later, she found him sitting in the workshop, hands covered in grease, face turned toward her voice. "You were out late last night," he said flatly. Her heart froze. I just went for a walk." Earl tilted his head slightly. "Funny. I heard footsteps. A man's voice." Lena swallowed hard, panic rising. "You must have imagined it." He smiled faintly, that cold, knowing smile that made her skin crawl. "Maybe, but from that day on, everything changed." Earl began locking the doors at night. He asked more questions. He moved silently through the house, as if listening, waiting. One stormy night, as thunder rolled across the valley, Lena woke to the sound of movement downstairs. The boards creaked, the back door slammed. She grabbed a candle and crept down, heart pounding. In the workshop, Earl stood near the table, holding something small, a scarf. Her scarf. He turned toward her slowly. "You said you lost this," he whispered. Her mouth went dry. "Earl, I can explain. Don't bother." His voice was eerily calm. "I may not see, Lena, but I'm not blind." Lightning flashed through the window, illuminating his scarred face. "I trusted you," he said, voice cracking. "Do you know what it's like living in darkness, and the one light you have lies to you?" Lena's eyes filled with tears. "Earl, please." But he dropped the scarf, walked past her, and out into the storm. By morning, he was gone. The sheriff found his truck abandoned near the river 2 days later. No sign of Earl. They searched for weeks, but he'd vanished without a trace. Some said he drowned. Others believed he left town to start over. But deep down, Lena knew he wasn't dead. Because every night, when the wind howled through the trees, she heard the faint creak of the porch steps, the sound of someone walking slowly, deliberately. Sometimes she would wake up to the smell of motor oil or find a single muddy footprint near the door. And once, just once, she swore she heard his voice in the dark. Seeing didn't bring me much good the first time. Years later, Lena moved away from Willow Creek. She tried to rebuild her life, but the memory of Earl haunted her. She never saw Caleb again, either. The stranger she kissed had disappeared just as mysteriously as he came. But on quiet nights, when the moonlight filters through the curtains, Lena still dreams of that kiss and wakes up to the feeling that someone is standing right beside her bed, watching. Even though he could never open his eyes,